Hi, and welcome to Riverside TV. I'm Steve Brazel. And during this pandemic, we want to bring you some of those positive stories that are out there. And so today, I'm joined by Joe Levick. Joe, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure to have you. It's nice to meet you, at least meet you and virtually meet you in this particular case. Your company, Levick Corporation, is doing something I find really interesting. And before we spoil the surprise and get into that, tell me a little bit about your company. I understand you've been around for quite a long time.
Yeah. Our family business, we're completely family owned and operated. We have been since 1949. My great grandfather started the business along with his son, my great uncle, back in 1949 as a beer distributor out in Los Angeles. And we've been distributing and manufacturing beer, wine, and distilled spirits ever since.
That's quite a long reign. So you're talking 70 years. And what exactly is your role with the company?
Well, my role, I actually serve as the president of the company. I work alongside my father, Tim Levick, my uncle, Neil Levick. I have two cousins that we brought into the business a few years ago, Jason and Carl Levick, that oversee sales and operations. And I actually have a brother-in-law that's involved in the business on the sales side too, with our private label side of the business. So we're actually proudly now in our fourth generation of family leadership.
So when you say it's a family business, Levick Corporation, it is a lot of family involved in this business.
Truly.
And now let's get to the spoiler. So I don't even want to say it. I want you to be able to say this, because what you're doing during this pandemic to me is one of those things where individuals like yourselves and companies and corporations like Levick Corporation are going to the next level. So what is this special thing that you guys have been doing?
Well, about 4 weeks ago, we officially started manufacturing hand sanitizer. It originated really candidly out of a defensive move. Really, the industry, the distilled spirit industry, has seen a significant decrease in sales and business because bars and restaurants, obviously under the social distancing mandate and shelter in place mandate, has affected our business. And so it was one of those things where we looked at producing hand sanitizer. We blend and manufacture distilled spirits, which uses ethanol, which is part of the components of making hand sanitizer. And once the FDA actually lifted some of their regulations on who can manufacture it, that gave us the green light to go ahead and move forward and start offering it for the local community.
And you guys, like you say, doing what you do for a living, you're just right in the perfect lane to step into this. And you're not only manufacturing it, and there's some video that I know will run during this show as well. People can also see that video on your Instagram account, which we'll give out later, of the actual bottling process. That alone was actually fascinating for me to see. How's the response been? Because I should probably say right up front, you're actually donating this sanitizer. So let's go there first. You're donating this sanitizer to first responders and local entities. Give us an idea of some of what you're doing in that area.
Yeah, so we started off, actually the first phone call that I made actually was to the Riverside Fire Department, and got a phone call back within 10 or 15 minutes, almost immediate. And they put an order in immediately. From there, I mean, that weekend, that Friday that we put the first phone call in, over the weekend, we brought in dozens of phone calls from local government agencies, from Orange County, Los Angeles County. We've been donating to a lot of the local state agencies, food banks, blood banks. But we've actually found that a lot of our customers that service food distributors, distilled spirit distributors, have a need too. So they've been putting orders in now too. And the demand has been incredible. We had no idea. We now have orders in place for over 130,000 gallons of hand sanitizer.
Gallons. Wow.
It's tremendous.
You mentioned some areas that are interesting to me, like the food service industry, but the blood banks was one I had not even thought of. The need for this is so strong right now. So I guess the question is, what's the response been like?
Oh, just one of complete gratitude. We continue, my cousins, my uncle, all of us, we continue getting photographs of customers and some of these agencies and organizations that are receiving the hand sanitizer, just sending us photos, and it's great. So we see nurses with their face masks on, using the hand sanitizer. So it's been really, really good. We've been happy we can help.
So let's go to the business side of this, because in a pandemic, obviously that affects local businesses, small businesses, large businesses, and employees. And in a case where we have shelter in place and so many businesses have had to close, employees either being furloughed or going on, you now have a situation where you are an essential service. And so I'm sure from an employee point of view, and during the pandemic, this sanitizer production has helped you in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That was one of our fears when the pandemic first came around, was that the beer, wine, and spirits industries might be shut down as a non-essential business. That has since changed, but certainly getting into hand sanitizer certainly put us in a position and strengthened our position as an essential business.
You're a manufacturer of distilled spirits, which then makes me wonder, as you're switching over, even though you already produced some of the essential ingredients in hand sanitizer, the changes that you've made, were there any federal, state, local laws that needed to be either, changed or written from the ground up, relaxed to make this happen?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And we've been staying very close to all the government agencies that oversee hand sanitizer and distilled spirits, because things are changing day to day and hour to hour and minute to minute sometimes. And as I mentioned, the FDA, they actually lifted some of their regulations on who could actually manufacture hand sanitizer, and they opened it up to distilled spirit producers, because we are such great users in volume of ethanol for distilled spirits. They opened it up to allow distilled spirit producers to be able to make hand sanitizer without having the FDA certification. Now, you still have to abide by all of the FDA requirements and follow the WHO guideline. The World Health Organization has a couple of guidelines and recipes that are allowed to be used. And so as long as you follow those regulations and you label it properly and you have a distilled spirit producer's license, you can manufacture it.
So really quickly before we close out here, let's take a trip across the water. I understand not only with your office here in the Inland Empire and your plant here in the Inland Empire, but you have a micro distillery on Maui. I'm guessing that's also involved in this?
It is. Yeah, we actually we do own and operate a small micro distillery there. We make vodka there from pineapples, the Maui Gold pineapple. It's the only vodka in the world made from pineapples, in fact, and that's called Pau Maui Vodka. We also make a gin called Fitz Street Gin, and we have a whiskey and a rum that we produce as well. And so the Hawaiian Islands have been affected significantly by this, especially because of tourism. 20 to 30% of the gross domestic product for the state of Hawaii comes from tourism. So when you shut that down, it has been a big challenge for the Hawaiian Islands. And so our small team there at the distillery has been producing it for all of the islands in Hawaii. And since we're talking about some small producers, we're also proud to be partnering with some local producers here in Southern California too, breweries and distilleries in the area.
Interesting.
Yeah, like Hangar 24, Ben Cook at Hangar 24. We've been working alongside him to get it out to the local community. They're right there in Redlands. Blinking Owl Distillery in Santa Ana in Orange County is a micro distillery that's been servicing the local area too. So we're just proud to be part of the distilled spirit community to help people out.
I love the fact that everybody's kind of come together. And the Hawaii thing is interesting because it's not just affecting people from the sense of an infection, but in Hawaii, where their infection rate has been low, the tourism issue is obviously a big one as well. So before we go, let's just let people know how they can find out more about you. What's your website?
The website is levesque.com, so www.levesque.com, and Levesque is spelled LEVECKE.com, and our micro distillery is paumaui.com, and they can be found on all the social media avenues as well, so Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And
your Instagram, Levesque Corp. So at Levesque Corp on Instagram. And that's where I saw the video. But I know, like I say, we'll put it in here too. So Joe Levesque, thank you so much, first of all, for everything that you are doing to help the first responders, help the local communities in this time of need. I wish you well, sir. And thanks for joining us here on Riverside TV.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. We're just happy to help. Thank you.
So again, Riverside TV, we're going to try and bring you these positive stories during the pandemic. Watch for each and every episode, and you can always follow us online as well. Thanks. I'm Steve Brazill, and we'll see you on the next show.